Day 4 meant we were over halfway on the tour, and our riding would take a major step up as we attempted to be the first tour of the year to complete the Frenchmens track. Previous tours had tried and failed due to the high water levels of the Wenlock and Pasco rivers. The team at North Queensland Trail Bike Adventures have access to some awesome private property that allows the tours to skip a lot of the road riding. A small present always keeps the owners happy.
Into the hole! Hey! This is not how you do it, guys.
Before long we were at our first test, a tricky little creek crossing that required us to ride a very narrow path along the edge of two deep holes, then up onto a sandbar before a deep crossing in very soft river sand. Like all of our crossings before, momentum was key. As soon as you stopped, the rear wheel dug a hole and you needed a hand to get out. Luckily, the boys were on hand to get me out of this one. Before long we hit the first of their two swamps we would have to get through before we even got onto the Frenchmens track. Now this was a bit of a free-for-all to try and get any way you could through to the track. Now while I was giving Pete the sweeper brake and hanging at the back, I come across poor Curly, who was only 30 centimetres off the track, but had found himself in a bit of a sticky situation. Now at 140 kilos, the DRZ's are already heavy. Throw them into the mud, and they're a two-man job to get them out. A bit further down the track, we hit the next river. This one would mean carrying the bikes through, but it also meant once we were through this, we could tackle the Frenchmens. then we hit our second swamp. Now through here, pretty much, if more than 2 bikes had taken the line, you just got bogged. So again, it was a wild free-for-all to get through to the track. Once you were stuck here, you were stuck. There were a few bikes that were bogged that we had to go and lift out, which wasn't an easy task, but we got the whole group through.
And here we have the DRZ in its natural habitat, a mud hole.
But now we were onto the Frenchmens. Now because no cars had been able to go through, none of the fallen timber had been cleaned up. So when I meant that there were some logs down, I lost count at over probably 100. But we did it. We were the first ones of the year to conquer the Frenchmen's track. That was the hardest part of the day done. One final river to cross. With high water levels and deep soft sand, this was one we would have to push across. It was relatively easy, unless you chose a bad one. Now the river had a bit of flow behind it, which didn't help as you had to keep momentum up, pushing with the legs, otherwise again, the rear wheel would just dig a hole and you'd be bogged.
That's fresh Suzuki water.
Now unfortunately, one of the boys had dropped his bike and drowned it. It was hydro locked and it wasn't going anywhere. But the boys at North Queensland Trail Bikes had a pretty cool trick and got it dewatered in under a minute. Back in camp after another awesome day of riding. Bit of bench racing, getting some river sand out of our boots, and a beautiful roast dinner would see us fueled up and ready to tackle the Telegraph track tomorrow. On the next episode, the crew tackles the mighty Telegraph track. We've got log bridge crossings, water crossings, and the famous gunshot.